Well, hello Dirtfish Rally friends, Shakedown here at Rally Sweden in Umeå. It's done and dusted. And Luke Barry, it was a little bit different this morning, wasn't it, Shakedown?
It was a unique stage that essentially running through the city of our host town here in Umeå. Started, I guess, out the back of the sort of suburbs, made its way almost to not quite the centre of town, but along the banks of the river. Obviously it's snow and ice. You can't necessarily see so much, but quite an interesting and novel way to do it.
It really was, and importantly, just 3.5 k's from the service park here. Now, was it representative of the stages? Part of it was certainly representative of what we're going to see this weekend. So what can we read into what we saw in Shakedown this morning? Thierry Neuville in this upgraded Hyundai. He was quickest, Luke, but there's maybe a bit behind that.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of drivers that went and took an extra run towards the end of the 3-hour slot they can all do a shakedown pass on. So essentially the road conditions have improved. But the interesting thing is on the first pass, Elfyn Evans was quickest. And Elfyn Evans, of course, starts first on the road for tonight's stage and also on Friday as well. So road position is a big thing we're all talking about.
It's a debatable subject, road position, it really is, and there's no real consensus of opinion as to where the best place is to be. Have to say though, in terms of Shakedown this morning, yes, a number of drivers did more runs. One of those who did more runs than just about anyone else was Martin Sesks, and you would expect that. He's had such little time in this car, but he made the most of it.
He did absolutely, and this is what it's all about for a driver like him who's, yes, we've seen him in a Rally 1 car before, but never in conditions like this. The start of his season, get his eye in, and he said that he basically was happy that he managed to find the pace after doing that. So yeah, great to see that he's feeling comfortable. We want to see Sesk on full form this weekend.
We really do. Martin Sesks, what can he do? Listen, we'll catch up with Martin Sesks in a short while. The other Hyundai drivers, it was good to see them with the new upgraded Hyundai. You have to say that Tanak looks good, as does Adrien Fourmaux, continuing that form that we saw him really in, that vein of form that we saw him in Monte Carlo. What about our Toyota drivers? Elfyn Evans looked good in Monte Carlo. He looked good this morning, as you said, on that first run in particular.
He did. He just looks confident, he looks comfortable,
yeah,
he looks happy.
Yeah, he did look happy. Happy's important.
Very important. He's just in a very good headspace at the minute, I think.
The driver who maybe didn't look quite so happy was Kalle Rovanperä. You know, he's delighted, I'm sure, to be back on a surface that he likes. He doesn't really like Monte Carlo, but he's still not 100% there, and maybe the times in Shakedown suggested that.
Yeah, it's interesting, actually. We've talked about it a lot in our podcast as well, the sort of optics around Rovanperä, because if this is a year ago and he came here, like he did when he wasn't doing the full season, everyone just expects him to touch gold. But after that Monty where he struggled particularly to adapt to Hankook's tyre, the big question is, will we have that same struggle here?
Well, let's wait and see. He might have an answer to that. If you just stick with us, we will catch up with Rovanperä. Let's see what he had to say shortly about that. But before we go to our driver interviews, let's talk about M Sport. We've already talked about Sesks. Let's talk a little bit about, in particular, Munster. Munster and Josh McElwain, again, looking comfortable out there. The M Sport boys have got reason for optimism this weekend.
They do, and I think in their position where even the team don't expect them to be winning rallies, even necessarily getting podiums, so they can approach the rally kind of how they want to approach it. They don't have anybody in their ear saying you must get X, Y and Z so we can win the Manufacturers' Championship. Essentially the key for them is staying out of trouble. Do that. We've seen it in the past here, particularly in Umeå. Remember last year, I think you've said it a lot this weekend, Solberg was 5th in a Rally 2 car, so it's very possible to get a great result if we just keep it on the road.
Keep it on the road. But there are lots of factors this weekend. As we've already touched on, there is road position. Those new Hankook tyres, how are they going to play into the equation? How is the weather going to play into the equation? We got lots of opinions from all our drivers earlier on in the media zone. Let's hear from them now.
Rally Sweden, quickest on Shakedown, is an encouraging start.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the road was changing quickly, and every run was different conditions. So obviously I benefit from quite good conditions on my last run, I guess, because just the time went quicker without honestly being much faster.
Your 5th place on the road for Friday. A lot of debate about where the best place will be. Are you happy with where you are, or would you rather be somewhere different?
I would say that I'm reasonably happy, yeah. I believe that in the morning we can see the first cars going quite fast, but after 2 or 3 cars I think there will be already some ruts where I can benefit from as well. So we've seen Elfyn going fast this morning on his first pass. Will it be the same tomorrow? It's hard to predict at the moment. It looked like this in Recce, but there has been a little bit of snowfall and the profile is a bit different in the stages as well, so let's see.
Have you got a snow dance prepared for Elfyn?
No, I mean, there's no chance of any more snow, maybe a bit Friday evening, but will be so little that it won't have any effect. So even with the best snow dance in the world, it wouldn't change anything.
New car, what can you finally tell us about it?
I don't know, it looks very similar to the other one, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're trying to work it out, we can't see too much. But
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, there are some changes, of course. But yeah, we need to see during the weekend where are the benefits of it. I mean, it felt good for all of us during the testing. But again, people expect big steps, but at the end, it's more small details we improve. I mean, we're at the highest level of this sport, and we wouldn't be there if the car would have been bad before. So there's not big steps we can gain anymore, especially with technical regulations as well, which basically are very restricted. We did some changes on, I mean, in general, the chassis, the weight, and the dampers and the uprights, so small changes, yeah.
you're starting down in 10th on the road. Do you think that's the best place to be?
I don't know really, because what we saw on a Shakedown, like, either you're first because Elfyn had a good time and then it was dropping a little bit, but then again, from the back when we did like third run, it was getting faster and faster again. So I don't know really. It is
what it is.
It is what it is. We'll do the first stages, then we'll know.
Do you feel confident in the car? Do you feel happy and able that you're, I guess, able to explore the limits on this surface?
I'm still working on that. We had just one test day before this, so there's still some things where I need to understand how the car will be under the braking, how I need to turn, how much I need to turn. So there's still some question marks, but that's why we have the rally. We have a whole rally to just gain experience, and we'll see.
The pace looked really good on Shakedown. I guess a couple of guys then went for extra runs, but how confident are you ahead of this weekend?
I mean, now in the beginning of the season, it's I guess always very difficult to be fully confident, as quite many details which are quite new, you know, in the car and under the car. So I guess some things we still need to learn and understand. But altogether, I would say with the upgraded chassis, the feeling is a bit better in the car. I guess generally the weather is looking quite consistent, so it should be a bit easier for the tire as well, and hopefully work well. So I think altogether, we still feel positive.
So these upgrades to the car, how much input have you had? What have you asked for, and what have they given you?
Yeah, you always ask for more, and you would like always to have as easy car to drive as possible, you know. And I mean, for me, always in the rallying, it's more about how easy it is to drive than actually really the pure performance. But still, I think we've done some good steps in a good direction. I definitely feel a bit more familiar in the car, but still, you know, we've been only driving in our base center, you know, not so much on the other roads. So I guess we will find out much more during this weekend.
But where's your feeling with the car and the tyres? You had obviously that running at Arctic. How much have you been able to learn from that experience?
Quite a lot. Luckily, we got some extra time there. It was quite important, I think, for the whole team to try to see a bit and get some data how everything works. So, me personally, struggling a little bit with the tire. It doesn't really suit my driving so well. So, you probably will hear me complaining about it later on in the weekend. But of course, I'm here to do a good result, so I try to change my driving and fix it quickly.
So what is it that you need to change in your driving then? Because you said similar things in Monte Carlo, didn't you? So what is it that you, I guess, can't do with this tyre that you were able to do before?
Well, you can't be so aggressive on the steering, which was one of my things on especially on snow and gravel, where I was always quite fast. In some places I could do some things, but I would say overall everywhere the braking and how you enter the corners is quite different with this tire. So not really how I naturally drive, and that's always difficult then to change.
Hyundai's done some updates to its car. Is that any kind of threat to you guys?
Well, they are a threat to us even normally always. So I think, I hope they don't get much faster.
Well, look, some really interesting stuff there. I still can't work out the best road position this weekend.
Anywhere on the road, I think, could be the best road position on one stage, the next stage somewhere else. So it's going to be really fascinating to see that tomorrow.
I think that's absolutely right. Some of the stages have more loose snow, some have a deeper ice base, and that is really what's going to dictate the best position on the road, isn't it? As we heard from our drivers. I can't wait for things to get underway this evening. Very difficult one to predict a 1, 2, 3, Luke. But I'm going to ask you. Go on, you can go first before I go for mine. I'm trying to remember your 1, 2, 3 from the podcast. Give us a go. Give it a go.
Podcast, I said third Adrian Fomo, second Loic Tanak, first Kalle Rovanperä. I'm less convinced about Kalle, having spoken to him.
Yeah.
But I'm going to predict it anyway. Why not? Who? Let's see.
Yeah, I can't remember because I'm getting old. I can't remember what I said in the podcast. But having listened to our interviews, having seen the drivers in Shakedown, I am going to go for a Tanak win. I think I may have said that in the podcast. Elfyn Evans second, and I'm going to go for, I don't know, Takamoto in third.
I don't mind that.
Takamoto in third. So yeah, listen, what do you think, folks? What do you think? Your 1, 2, 3s, we always love to read them in the comments below. Let us know your top 3 for the second round of this year's FIA World Rally Championship. It is one of the most difficult to predict, I think, Luke. Folks, just a smidgen over 300 kilometres ahead of us this weekend. 18 stages. Don't forget, a number of those stages are brand new. That could make things really interesting indeed. It's going to be a cracker. It always is here in Sweden. We've heard the drivers talking about how perfect the conditions are for all of the action this weekend, folks. Follow all of our social channels. Obviously, YouTube, you're subscribed to that, but don't forget Instagram. Don't forget TikTok and X, Facebook as well. And as always, comments. We love to see them, folks. It is going to be a cracking rally, Sweden. We will see you all again very, very soon.